Welcome to Better Daily Life, where we are moving forward 1% better every single day. Download the app and supercharge your journey at betterdaily.life. Now it's time to ditch facts and get facts with your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Thursday. It is Word Thursday, and the word today is ownership. I'm very excited to talk through some meditations on this word with you. Now, Word Thursday, you never really know what you're going to get out of Word Thursday, although here at Better Daily Live, it's really important to us that your 1% better journey, your growth, isn't just a physical endeavor. And that's something that separates us from a lot of the operations out there in the fitness industry and wellness industries, is they just look at the body. Hey, you need to eat better because it's good for you. And you need to move better because it's good for you. And you need to sleep better because it's good for you, right? And you can measure these changes via your body composition and whatnot. But here it's important to us that when you are working toward better, that it's a mind, body, and spirit thing. Because I have worked in the fitness industry for a long time. I've been a trainer almost 17 years. I'm not claiming it yet. 16. Still at 16 years right now. But I have been in the fitness industry for a long time, and I know that if your pursuit of better is only physical, that it's possible to improve the look of your body without improving how you feel on the inside and how you are on the inside. It's possible to be a high-performing, physically beautiful person and be empty, dead, depressed, angry, and unenergetic inside. Very possible. I've seen it. And it's not pretty. It really is not pretty. And that's why Word Thursday exists in Better Daily, because it gives us an opportunity to dig deeper into the vocabulary that we use on a regular basis, both in our communication, in our betterment journey, maybe some things that I even say on the shortcast here, because it's important to me that if you are working toward better, that goes deeper than just the skin, that you have both the support and the inspiration to go deeper than just what's physical. So Word Thursday is our opportunity to do that, and I really appreciate you guys joining me for Word Thursday. And this word ownership is a really interesting word. To be the owner of something means to be like the possessor of something. I have this thing that is mine. It's my property, right? That's the gist or the definition of ownership. The etymology goes back to 13th century French. And 13th century French, it meant oftentimes the word used, I think it's angdre. I have no idea how to pronounce that in French. That was actually used to describe the captain of a ship. Let's say I am the captain of a vessel, and that vessel is a merchant vessel, and so people come from all over the place to load my ship up with stuff, and I am the captain of the ship. I know how to drive the ship. I own the crew who does things for my ship, and it's my ultimate responsibility to make sure that these things that I'm being paid to move from one place to another, that they actually get there. And in the process, I have to deal with all kinds of stuff that I can't control, like wind and waves, or like crews who are feeling lazy today. But as they say, come hell or high water. It's actually another captain's phrase there. Come hell or high water, this boat is going to get from point A to point B, or I'm going down with the ship. That's ownership. The ship part of ownership, I don't know if that's actually part of the etymology, just so you know. Either way, the point is it's a very, very interesting word, because the etymology is not just that you possess something, but that you have authority over it. And this word's especially important here in Better Daily, because in our Better Man Challenge, we have something called the Circle of Man. And these words are words that are deep and abiding and important representations of the journey toward betterment as a man. So one of those words is integrity. I've covered that before. One of those words is grit. I've covered that before, right? And ownership is actually the word that we end our Better Man Challenge on. And the reason is because the best laid plans of mice and men, right? You can plan anything, but if you don't take ownership of that plan, and ultimately if you don't take ownership of yourself, if you don't take possession of yourself, if you don't command authority over yourself, well, then all of your goals and efforts are just pipe dreams at that point. Ownership is a crazy strong word because it cuts to the heart when we start talking about what do we own. Ultimately, we start with us, right? Ultimately, we start with us. There's a buku of quotes about how a man's not a man unless he can own himself, take control of himself. But this is actually a psychological trope as well. There is in the psychological literature this idea of a subject mindset and an agent mindset. A subject is somebody who ultimately says, life happens to me, like I'm the subject in a story. Life happens to me. It's really bad weather outside and that makes me feel terrible, right? Somebody forgot to set the alarm and so I didn't wake up, or I'm late because traffic, or whatever. That's a subject mindset. There's all these things in life that are happening to me and I'm just a response to those things. Whereas an agent mindset says something along the lines of, I make life happen, right? I make life happen. I know there's going to be traffic, and so I left an hour earlier. I know that sometimes my alarm doesn't go off the way it needs to, so I have a backup. I know the weather sucks, so I ran in the rain anyway. An agent mindset, and this is a psychological thing, okay? This is something that scientifically speaking we use in the psychological literature to classify where people are coming from, right? So if somebody walks into a counseling situation, it's very, very important that their identity, first, in order to handle a problem, that their identity shifts from subject to agent. Because if you're a subject, then you can't do anything about what's bothering you. Like if in your own head, life is happening to you, I'm in pain, there's this illness that's taking me over, this stuff's happening in my family, this stuff's happening in my workplace. If you're a subject, then it's like the whole world is bearing down on your shoulders. Whereas if you're an agent, you have ownership. If you're an agent, you say, look, there are a lot of things outside of my control. However, I do have the opportunity to change the way I respond to those things. I have authority over myself. And even though all these things are outside of my control, I'm going to start searching for what is within my control and do something about it. That's ownership. That's the heart of ownership. Ownership is when you can look yourself in the mirror in the morning or in the nighttime and say, it's on you, man. So I'm talking about Word Thursday, and I'm thinking about all the different ways that ownership comes into play in my life on a regular basis. And I notice ownership when I'm annoyed because I'm not very good at a lot of things. I'm working on it. I'm on my own betterment journey. But one thing I'm very, very good at is ownership. And probably to a fault. Sometimes I find myself taking responsibility for things that is really somebody else's job. So maybe I'm too good at this ownership thing. Maybe I've outstepped my agency bounds sometimes, right? I had to learn that as a trainer. I had to learn not to take ownership of somebody else's success or failure. You know, my clients would come to me and we would work on something together and we would get a lot accomplished in a session. And then we would have some homework and they would agree on what it is that they were going to change from a nutrition perspective. And then they would come in next week. And if they were unsuccessful in that change, that hurt inside as their trainer. You know, it was almost like my failure. Like they didn't make the change. That's my failure. But one of the things I learned as a coach is it's very, very, very important that I don't steal ownership from them. You know, because it takes a little bit of skill to do that well. I can be like, oh man, we failed on that front. I have to go back to the drawing board and help my client come up with what it is. No. Ownership is when your coach can say to you, wow, you set out with the best in mind. You had a great plan. Let's see what we can learn from this. Let's see how you can own yourself better next time. Because sometimes maybe you need to step the goal down. Maybe you were a little overzealous. right? Maybe you planned poorly. Maybe you were like, yeah, I'm going to do this and this and this. Oh, wait, I totally forgot. Family was coming in town. Ooh, how do I navigate birthdays? Okay, well, that's a different conversation, and that's something you can learn to be an agent in, not a subject. You can learn to be an agent. And I love this word because I work with children's ministry. I have kiddos myself. I also do a lot with men's ministry as well in my community. I get to watch people who started in a subject mindset, and I get to see the journey toward ownership, that agent mindset. And once you're an agent, that does not mean you stay an agent forever. That sometimes things happen in life that put you right back in the subject place for a bit. Let's say somebody in your family gets sick. There were a lot of things within your control that were going well, hunky-dory, right? And then suddenly, everything feels outside of your control. Everything feels bigger than you. And you're in that subject place where everything's happening to you. I want to say to you, you're still an agent. There are still things that you own in yourself. There are still prayers that you pray. There's still an attitude you decide to take. There's still food that you put in your face. There's still movement that you can be doing. I know there's all of those things that are still within your control. Now, there is something added that's outside of your control, and I'm not saying it's easy. It's difficult. But that doesn't mean your agency is taken from you. You're still an owner. You still own you. And that's one of Jesus' messages in the New Testament. Broad is the way that leads to destruction. Easy is the path, and many there will be that find it. It's easy to say, oh, wow, life's happening. Oof, dang, so many things. Oh, it's so hard. So many things outside of my control. And it's almost like a contest. You ever sat down at a table with somebody who's got a lot going on, and they just can't wait to tell you all of the big giant things that are stacked against them? I'll listen, but deep down inside I'm like, man, you are an agent. Maybe you can't change all those things, but you are an agent. And I like to foster that and inspire that. And, well, narrow is the path that leads to life. Difficult is the way that leads to life, and few there will be that find it. I don't know a lot about making sure that you're on the narrow way, but I do know this. I do know that those that are walking the difficult path, they have ownership. They have ownership of themselves. They understand that ultimately, at the end of every day, they have to look themselves in the mirror and account for what they did with the day they were given. And so, my call to you is to be an owner, if nothing else. If you can't command the ship, if you can't drive the boat, if the wind and the waves are too big, at least you be the captain of you and make decisions about whatever small thing is in your purview. You make decisions about how you're going to do that with excellence today. You don't have to do everything at once. It really is just 1%. Be a 1% owner today. Guys, this has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live for Word Thursday on the word ownership. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. What comes to your heart and mind when you think about the word ownership, subject, and agent? Until tomorrow, which is Flex Friday, will be a little more physical and a little less metaphysical. It really is just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% better. Be you, just better, in mind, body, and spirit. Go to betterdaily.life, download our app, and check out our 5-star coaching resources. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.life today.